Okay, so as I mentioned, malaria is a very deadliest disease, and as you can see from the picture itself, it is a tropical and subtropical region which is affected the most. But now malaria has become global. By mean global, I say that people are moving in and out of these epidemic regions, and therefore they contract malaria. And so you have to study malaria in the case of anti-malarials, in respect of vaccine, and so on. So a bit of the life cycle. Malaria, it is a very complex thing. The Plasmodium, it requires two hosts to complete its life cycle. One is the humans and then the mosquito. So one part of the cycle is completed in the humans, and therefore it makes us deadliest disease to us, and for the mosquito. And the good part of Plasmodium is that it does not affect the mosquito. It tries to survive in the mosquito, and it makes conditions such that when it infects the humans, it becomes very deadly. So, why malaria? Like malaria, we all know that it was discovered in India, in Calcutta, by Sir Ronald Ross, for which he took the Nobel Prize. Since then, we are studying malaria. Now, so many decades have been completed. Still, we do not have a vaccine for malaria, or whatever antimalarials are there, they all are becoming resistant. So Plasmodium is really a smart fellow. He is evolving many techniques to overcome whatever strategies we work out. So what are the challenges? So first thing, as I mentioned, it is for the Plasmodium part, it is chloroquine was the best medicine, but over the period it is being resistant to chloroquine. Okay, for mosquito, DDT was the best thing. They in US they literally spread DDT through all the fields, the houses, they painted the people also, and everything. There was a flood of DDT. But what was the result? The result, mosquitoes have become resistant to it, and so on. So literally each and every process which we try to overcome the disease, it is becoming much more smarter, and it is evolving many techniques, and I will explain you how. Again, the life cycle for malaria for vaccine, it has a complex life cycle. It has various antigenic variation, quite a lot of polymorphism is seen, not only in the Indian population but all the populations worldwide. And then again it has this thing called as state-specific antigenic variation. So in the blood cycle itself, we have the ring stage, we have the trophozoite stage, and the cytone stage. The genes expressed are different, and thus it is evolving smarter techniques to evade the immune system. Yeah. So in 2002, the malaria genome was sequenced. And when we sequenced the genome, we came to know the complexity of it. The most interesting part is that it has approximately 5,000 genes, and it is highly 80% rich. That is 80.6%. That is 80.6% of 80 rich. That means if you look at the sequence of it, you will just find a trail of A's and T's and nothing more. So when you compare it with the humans, so it is highly GC rich. So this 80ness is becoming a challenge, and that's why we cannot develop antimalarials or a vaccine for it. Again, there are repeats in it, and interesting part is some part of the genes, they are comparable to the yeast. Now this is a very interesting question. Why yeast? Why they are common to yeast? So all these things makes it a complex figure to work out with. So again, the parasite, what it does it takes two things into consideration, that is cytoadherence, that is it binds to the endothelial cells of various organs, and it causes complexion in the case of cerebral malaria or the placental malaria. I'll come to it later on. And secondly, it undergoes antigenic variation. So what does it do is, it has, once the parasite goes into the liver, it will stay over there, it will multiply, and after that it comes to the blood cycle. Once it comes to the blood cycle, it will immediately enter into a RBC. This is to disguise. So that is, they want to evade the immune system. So what the parasite will do, they will go inside, they will happily multiply, and some part of the protein will be sent outside the RBC membrane. So this is the RBC membrane, and some proteins are set on the top of it, where others like KHRP, they are inside the RBC membrane. So when you generally see the RBC membrane, it is a smooth membrane. So once it becomes infected, that means it forms a knob, this bump. And this some proteins are sent like PFEMP1, that is Plasmodium falciparum erythrocyte membrane protein 1. So they are sent on the top of it. And what do? They do a very interesting thing is, these proteins, they are encoded by 60 copies, 60 VAR genes. And these proteins, when they come to the blood circulation, this is the infected one, they go and bind to the uninfected RBCs and they will form rosettes. By rosettes I mean they will form clumps and they will obstruct the capillaries of the various organs. Then another thing which they do is, they will bind to, these are the endothelial cells. So they bind to various host receptors like CD36, CD31, ICOM1 and so they form various complications of malaria. Like when I meant the host receptors, so if it binds to hyaluronic acid or chondroitin sulfate A, so it will form placental malaria. If it binds to ICAM1, then it will form a cerebral malaria, and so on. CD36, they will form in the lungs and in the kidneys, severe complications. So these are the various complications which are occurring because of this PFEMP1. So this PFEMP1, that is the VAR which I talked about, this is not the only fellow. There are others also like Griffin, Stewart, all these are multi-copy genes. By this I mean that the 3D7, which is the reference genome, it has 59 copies of VAR gene, 149 copies of RIF and 28 copies of Stewart genes. Another interesting part of it is, this has 14 chromosomes, and the VAR genes, they are present at the subtelomeric region. Now pay attention over here, when you mean subtelomeric region, that means they undergo recombination. So they are very prone for recombination, and so therefore they form various copies of it and they form severe complexity. So the PFEMP1, it is a very huge protein. It is around 250 to 350 kilodaltons. By this I mean that this ATS region is standing inside the RBC membrane. Then you have this trans-domain membrane, and then you have several domains like the DBL alpha domain, the cysteine-rich interdependent domain, and so on. These two domains are common in all the 60 copies, whereas the other one, they may or may not be present. And the beauty of this is, like the DBL alpha, it will bind to heparan sulfate, blood group A or complement receptor 1, and it will form rosetting. And if it binds to ICAM1, I told you it causes cerebral malaria. So this is the beauty of the protein, which